Good afternoon and welcome to Titan Talk. Hey guys, we appreciate you joining us today. It is December 30th. It is one day away from being the new year. So thank you so much for everything you guys have done this year. We appreciate you guys joining us today and throughout this little trip we've made to do this with you guys and everything that you guys have done uh, with the year and with our on sites and our patrol guys and everybody, our supervisors.
Temps,
Just
patrol, all
thank
that.
you so much for the amazing year that we've had. So we appreciate you guys. You got me, Lieutenant Coop, and we've got our fantastic Captain McFarland with us.
What's up, guys?
And we just wanted to say thank you again. With it being the last show of the year, we wanted to say thank you so much for all the hard work and dedication that you guys have given us this far. And just everything you guys have done has allowed us to do these fun things where we can do this stuff. So thank you so much. And we appreciate it so much.
Yeah, this is back to our live ones. Excuse, I got a little frog in my throat. I was sick this week, so my throat and voice is just kind of coming around. So I apologize if I'm clearing it in the mic a lot
He was
more.
also at range today yelling a
So
lot. So.
yeah, and I was at range yelling. So
Devin, Diego, thanks for joining us.
bear with me. It's good to be back on the live. It's I don't mind doing the recorded ones, but it's nice to have interaction with you
I was gonna
guys.
say
So it's not the same.
the recorded ones are okay. I mean, it's nice having a few in the back ready, like in case we need them for
Yeah,
vacation or
for
an
when people are
emergency or
sick or
something.
anything, but
But live is where it's at with you guys.
yeah, Monday we had to throw on a recorded one last minute because we had too much going on.
Well, Monday we were closed, so we weren't
Or
here.
that's right, that's right.
Hmm.
What was it Friday we threw? I think it was the last Friday that
Yeah,
we had to do. Every once in a while, we apologize. We want to be live as much as possible, so we enjoy interacting with you. Hopefully, you guys enjoy the recorded ones. You can still throw comments on there because Coop will come back and double back and answer questions or topics and stuff like that. We've got a pretty graphic one today. So just a heads up, it's just a quick little video. It's not very long. We've got to jump back to work, so we're not going to be super long today. But it's a just a little reminder video of how quickly you can go from 0 to 100. And so we hope you like the beers with the bosses, or I'm sorry, beverages with the bosses. Beverages with the
so I'd
bosses.
say that was kind of the special one that we uploaded this week. Because I put out the beverages with the bosses, where we did a nice little interview with both the bosses. We had Ryan
That was
Smith.
Wednesday, right?
Yeah, it was Wednesday.
It was on my YouTube. So I have YouTube TV at home, and it'll show me my YouTube and YouTube TV, and it'll always show like my most watched. And I subscribe to our channel, so at least I think I am. I actually don't even know.
I am.
I've watched a few, but it's kinda weird watching yourself. But I've just showed like
I've
a
seen,
couple
and
family members.
it's funny. Someone asked me one time, how come I don't watch the videos? Like I watch them, but it makes me watch them again. I go, I watch the videos, generally the recorded ones, in the line in it, and I watch it to make sure everything goes functional,
Yeah,
and then I upload it. So it's hard for me to watch it a third
that's a
time.
little vain. It's
Yeah,
like having a big picture of yourself above your mate. It's like, hey, look at me. This is my house. Yada yada. So, everything all right?
yeah, just checking.
Oh, yeah, our guy that usually helps us out, is not flying the Titan plane right now. So again, I hate that I've done it in the past, but I'm going to be checking emails throughout this just to emails and texts just to make sure that the building's still here. So other than that, if you want, it's going to take you a second to get it set up.
Not really.
I'm not going to give you much backstory. It's just know it happens quick, and so it's just a nice reminder. Always stay kind of froggy, and I'm not going to sit here and Monday morning quarterback this officer. It's something that happens so fast that you just need to be prepared. And I don't think he was ill prepared. It's just unfortunately sometimes things fall into place to where kind of like the last video we did where I broke it down with you guys and Coop was helping. They did everything right and it still turned out bad. So, and I don't want it to be a trending thing where we're going to show you bad videos, but those are the ones that kind of help remind you. And at the end of the year, it's always nice that, hey, let's finish out strong. Let's not, fall asleep at the wheel here and
I will
let's
say it's
stay
also
sharp.
hard to find the really good ones though, like the ones where everything ends politely and stuff
Yeah,
like
you're
that.
not going to get, I mean, it's middleman news, blood, or what do they say, blood cells, or what's that fire?
Blood, sex, and something else.
Yeah,
Sales.
blood, sex, and drugs and money, or I don't
Mhm.
know. But if it bleeds, it reads. That's what it is. It's an old
Newspaper
journalism,
thing.
yeah, journalism thing. So you're not going to see very often, hey, this many homeless people were, have found shelter and are turning their lives around, or this officer had a really good interaction. No, you see, and I mean, it's I get it. When you hear about officer involved shootings, especially ones that the officer's in the wrong, it's going to be the headline for a week or two. But there's over hundreds of millions. I forget the stat, but it is astonishing how many interactions there are with police and civilians, and less than 10, usually, sometimes less than a handful, turn in, unjustified shootings or excessive use of force, stuff like that. So if you do the math, which I'm not very good at, but even I can figure out, when you have hundreds of millions of interactions and less than you can count on one or two hands of them are bad, I'd say that they're doing the right thing
Yeah.
majority of the time. So
There's always a bad apple, but a majority of the apples are always good.
at least in this case, yeah.
So we're gonna hop over to this video, and we're gonna kind of get into it.
So this officer, I don't, and to be honest, I don't have a whole bunch of backstory. I do know the outcome. I don't leave us hanging like Coop has in the past, where he's like, "I'm not sure what happens." It's like, you asshole!
Well,
Like,
it's like you can't always find it.
that's I'm blaming
So here
him.
we go.
You're good. I can see it. So you can see there, the guy pulls a gun out and shoots that officer. It's really hard to hear that kind of stuff. It
Yeah.
makes your stomach turn, but she's got cover. I don't want to speak out of turn here. Yep, she's already shot the individual. She's a very good shot. We'll put it that way, and you're gonna find out here in a minute. So you see here, he's making contact. I mean, less than 5 seconds, that guy's got a gun out and shoots the officer. This isn't to scare you. It's just to show you how quickly things can go south. And again, he turned his back a little bit, but boom, he's ready to go. Pulls it out of his waistband. He gets a couple shots off it, then instantly she drops the individual. So looks like they can see that, right?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll let them see it all. Oh, it's all the way out. I think it's almost over, isn't it? No, it's not. We're about halfway. So there's some good resolution here. He struck in the vest, from what I believe, and I again don't want to speak out of turn here. It's hard. It's like when you've seen a movie and you tell people what's going, and they're like, "Hey, shut up, let me watch the movie." I want to give away all the good, spicy details, but he does make it. Okay, so just so you guys aren't sitting there on holding your breath on it, he does make it. I believe the round goes through his body armor, and so he did sustain some damage. But I read an article. Now, before I say any more, I'll wait and see if I can't remember if it shows you in the video or I had to look it up. It was a reputable source. There was 4 videos and I had resolutions to all of them. And I believe, does it say where it's at? I think this is California
It's
as well.
California.
Yeah. He starts to lose consciousness, which when I first watched this was killing me. Yeah, he's not even responding now, but he does make it. I just want to make that clear.
You got to think
Not to nerve wrack you guys like
that bullet hitting you in the chest, and that even though
that
the vest
range.
stops it,
Yeah. Oh,
that range the force of
it
that
could
bullet's
stop
gonna
your
knock
heart.
you out.
Yeah. But just ice in her veins. Thank God she was there. Because, he went down. Here we go. Developed a tactical plan. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
Los Angeles.
the individual there did not make it. But
Hello, I'm Mark
here we go.
Brown. Get more great
Hold on.
BBC7.
Can we watch that now? Oh, okay. Well, I think that's where they explain that the officer The officer's okay. He made it. He made a full recovery. I think he was on not house arrest, but he was put on
Like,
bed rest at home and I think in about 2 or 3 weeks he was ready to rock and roll again. So, but again, this isn't to scare you guys, but it's to kind of put into perspective that you could tell that guy's been
that was not a rookie officer.
yeah, he wasn't a rookie, and the female responded uh, perfectly. But just be prepared. I mean, it goes 0 to 100 in no time. Okay, so I don't want to scare anybody, but
It does show the reality of how something can go from just having a conversation, because that's how that started. He made contact,
yeah, he just
and
said,
said,
"Hey, hang
"Hey,
tight. I'm going
hang
to my
tight. I gotta go
car. Like
check something out."
you're not under arrest. You're not in trouble. Like literally, just
Took a
hang for a second, and
took
it
a step
instantly
back.
turned around,
Dang.
blasted. So just keep that in mind when you're dealing with people you don't know. And even and a lot of people don't know this, but a lot of these officer involved shootings where the officer gets shot or gets hurt is with somebody that this officer's dealt with 30 or 40 times, that they built a relationship with, a rapport with, and just that day, that person, you know, I was gonna say goes 10-8, but that person, you're not gonna know what that means. That person, is either strung out on drugs or whatever, and there's a trust factor there. That guy trusted that guy too much. I'm not saying you should back away from every situation, just because it's unreasonable. But at the same time, if he would have kept visual on that guy while the female was coming up, or I'm not going to Monday morning
You can
quarterback
Monday
it,
these things
but
when it comes to
that's
stuff like that, you can
he was
Monday night.
doing. Yeah, he was doing everything right,
Yeah,
and he's still getting shot. So just keep that in mind when you're dealing with somebody and you're like, "Ooh, I could probably turn." Perfect example is when I walked in front of some guys with holstered weapons one time, and Leon's like, "Dude, you can't do
you
like,"
can't do that.
and it's like you just can't trust. And those are guys that work for me. So it's like, not that I think anyone do anything wrong, but I have to limit those factors or those outlets for people to have that jump or have that advantage. I have to always be thinking one step ahead. So
But
again, just make sure use this as a tool to remind yourself that okay, the interaction I had with that individual this week, think about it. And are there things you could have done differently and stuff like it just keeps you frosty, keeps you froggy, and keeps you alive. Okay. And it keeps others alive. So just keep that in mind when you watch stuff like this. It's not to make you say, oh, shit, I don't think I want to do this
right,
anymore.
it's a learning point.
It's okay. That
One of
guy was
it
doing everything right, and
it's one of
it's gonna
those
happen.
it's one of those points that when you're dealing with somebody and you're unsure of anything, call for a secondary. Call patrol and say, "Hey, I'd like a secondary person out here. This guy's a little squirrely, making me a little worried." Get a secondary out there. There's nothing wrong with having that backup. And this is an example of why. And then that training that goes along with everything else it plays a huge role into what they did and to how we handle the situations. Let's see. Diego says, "You always hear about things when they go bad, but you rarely hear about when they go the way they should." That's 100% correct.
It's always going to be like that, at least for probably my lifetime and probably lifetimes
It'll be forever.
after. Yeah, it's bad news sells because it's the juicy
Mhm.
juicy details. And like I said, when let's say somebody helped donate a couple thousands of meals to families or something, you're not gonna hear about that.
Yeah.
And for whatever reason, it is what it is. But yeah, just keep that in mind when you hear about stuff in the media.
Diego
Uh,
said Diego also goes, it just shows you to never get too comfortable.
That's exactly what I'm
That's the thing
saying.
is when we talk about being comfortable in your position and your role and what we do, there's a difference between being comfortable and complacent.
Yep.
You can be comfortable in what we do for a living and have an understanding of everything around
You
you, but
just
you
always want
don't
to be
want to be
thinking a step.
complacent.
You always want to be thinking a step ahead.
Yeah. When you get complacent, that's when something can go wrong. Being comfortable is one thing. It's the complacency that you train to avoid, because that's where you can get yourself into danger. Uh, it is a good thing that he had another officer with him. It could have been a whole lot worse. So thank
Well,
goodness it was a
exactly.
secondary.
The guy could have came, stepped over, and
Yeah.
executed him. And that's happened before.
Yep.
So no, that's exactly why people always, we want police departments want to be able to team up, and that's I don't know. So allegedly, it's probably a high crime area. If a guy's walking around with a gun in his waistband like that,
I will
it's
say
it's that comfortable.
what I do know from that is it was in front of a police department. I don't know the situation fully, but I do know that it was in front of a police department. I think he was banging on the door to get in. That officer approached to make contact and say,
Yeah.
"Hey, what's going on? How can I help?"
So, and he
Devin, I
obviously,
did say Los Angeles. Reason being is in the video it said Los Angeles. I do apologize if I was incorrect in that. He said it's La Habra. So
but it's California,
it's
is what we said,
California
right?
County, I think,
Yeah.
or I think it's Los Angeles County. I'm not 100% sure. I don't know California that well. I just said it was Los Angeles because I saw that in the video, and that's what I thought.
Yeah.
So if I was wrong, I apologize. But
Got the fact
it's
checkers out
it's
there.
the big thing on this for me would be complacency. You know, when you're dealing with a suspect or a subject, you're talking to them, it's complacency that's going to get you in trouble, not comfortability.
Yeah.
You can be comfortable in knowing that you're going to be usually outnumbered, outgunned, and all of that stuff. But when I get complacent about it, we have a video about complacency in our orientation when you guys come through there. You guys remember it?
Yeah, don't give me too much
Um,
details, but yeah.
I'm not, but
I always like that one to catch people
yeah,
off
yeah, yeah.
guard. That's what it's for.
But it's a prime example of complacency, and I
Yeah,
think this
20,
is
30-year vets that
yeah,
forgot to do something that
a bunch of departments and
resulted in some
yeah,
bad stuff.
and
So,
that's complacency, and I
and
think
those
this
have
is
been doing this 20, 30 years.
yeah,
You know, a lot of you guys have a couple years on the job and or even newer. Should feel like I won't say your first time every time, but every time you suit up, put the uniform on, and go to work, there should be a little bit of a giddiness, not in a bad way, but there should be a little bit of okay, I need to stay sharp. I need to stay one step ahead of everybody around me because that that survival instinct is what keeps you alive in a bad situation like this.
yes,
And they talk about that in orientation as well. You know, your will or your fight to live is going to keep you alive
there are
in really bad situations where people are going to be like, "How did that guy survive that?"
there
Because he
are
was not going to go down.
there are times when and a big one is like in war, someone will die from a wound that is not a lethal wound because their fight to survive is not that strong,
Yep.
where other people will survive what should have been a lethal wound, and they survive it because of that will to fight. When you get into these situations, that's where that comes in. Part of that comes in is having that will and knowing that no matter what, you're going to be okay and that you can
Yeah.
fight your way through it.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. I mean, it's just that's and there's more of a medical history or background or scientific theory to that, and I'm not going to get into the details of that, but I do know for a fact, just having dealt with people, some that have been in combat and stuff, it's your ability to have that fight or that drive, which can really make a difference. And you know, you hear about it all the time. It's there was a long time ago. I was watching this show. It was all I don't remember what it was called, but it was like extreme events caught on tape, and this was before like camera phones were super popular, and so it's an old grainy video of this bigger guy and this small helicopter goes down, and one of the people that was in it somehow ends up on the outside, and it's pinned underneath this helicopter. And
mhm,
it's probably this, you know, it's like a small car, and this guy is a big dude, but you know, he there's this gear, this fight or flight response. He runs over and lifts the helicopter fuselage up,
yeah,
and the person gets out and they say that it was just I mean, I think he ended up, like, rupturing both his bicep because it's just that you go into that fight or flight mode, and, you know, there's some really, like, superhuman type shit that can happen, and it's true. I mean, that was one that was on video probably 15, 20 years ago. I remember watching as a kid, and I was like, "What?" And that one always stuck with me because you and it's an old, like, VC or, like,
yeah,
VCR still, great, but you see this
old
guy
school.
run over there, and it's in, like, this marshy area, and and you see the person like climb. I'm like, holy smokes! And so I've just that one for whatever reason I don't know why that one's always stuck with me. But you just keep that in mind. You know, find something that gives you that purpose to keep going. And I don't want this to all be bad. So take from it that just hey, don't. And I remember an old mentor of mine that was in law enforcement said that the day you think you know everything is the day you need to hang up your
You know,
gear.
it's funny. I hear that in so many professions. When I was going to school to be an electrician, I
I think
think
we've talked about this before.
I
Yeah.
think I was my second year in. It was my finals classes, I think, and our instructor was an electrician. He'd been an electrician for 40 years, and he just decided to retire and finish out his career at the college. And he told us, one thing you should always know is if you ever run into an electrician who never wants to learn anything ever again because he thinks he knows everything, he did something wrong, and you're probably going to get hurt.
Yeah, I think
And I
yeah.
was like, that's
There
kind
was
of
a couple
terrifying.
episodes ago you told us about, yeah, especially electricity. You end up touching something wrong or
Yeah.
whatever. I remember the first time I was learning how to work on houses and the main power source to like the breaker.
Mm,
He's like, that thing right there.
don't
And
touch
I
that.
was like, well, why? He's like, that's got like hundreds of thousands of, he's like, it'll fry your entire body. He's like, you'll be dead in 4 seconds.
So there
I
was
was like,
a
oh, so don't touch that. Gotcha. Perfect. I'm going to walk away now. I'm not doing any more electrical work over
we were
here.
doing something on that. We were doing training on boxes outside. There were high voltage boxes for like industrial work zones,
Yeah, it's
and
gotta be insane though.
tons
'Cause
of
this is
power
just a
going through it.
house, yeah. He still say he's like, "It'll cook your toenails
Yeah,
off in
he
4
got
seconds."
there was a
I
story
was
of a
like,
guy who touched one and it vaporized
"Yeah,
him. I was
same."
like, no, I'm good, dude. Like
Yep.
I go back to that
And
house and
see, I'm not a big electrical guy. I mean, I know you've got the background in it and you've helped with the vehicles, you know, lighting packages and stuff. I'm doing good. So I got a new sound bar for
Yeah,
Christmas. I don't know if I told you
you
that,
didn't.
but it came with surround sound speakers. So it's got the one main sound bar
Mhm.
in the middle, and then two speakers where there's the red and the black, and you hook them in. To
Yeah,
me, that I like. I might as well have a yellow hat on and feel like
that
that's
that's
close to
close
being
you're gonna get to
electric.
it? Oh, no.
And that's like for little kids, you could do that probably with water running.
Yeah,
Like it's not gonna hurt you.
no,
But
it's less than 12
once
volts.
yeah, once I get there, I'm like, I'm gonna need a manual for this, and it's and I was like, Shanae, because why couldn't we just get ones that are already plugged in? She's like, really? And so I was like, all right, that's fair. But no, it's super nice. Like when there's stuff on the T, like it's
Yeah.
all directional. And then my subwoofer that I got's probably like 4 or 5
When
times bigger than the old one was. So I
mhm,
barely get to. It shakes the whole house. It's insane.
we were doing something electrical in the cars, and I tagged onto a live line,
Yeah,
and I was like, "Oh, that's live," and they're like, "It didn't hurt?" And I was like, "No,
yeah,
like,
you get
that's
immune to it.
whatever."
Yeah.
Like, I feel it from the buzz on my skin, and, like, I'm just like, "Oh, that's live. Okay,
Yeah,
this is
see,
on the
I
next one."
hate being shocked. I hate it. Being tased was awful. I hate electricity. I just hate it.
I
I
can't say anything about being tased because I come from the era where we as kids I grew up in a farming area, so, like,
cattle
cattle
prods.
prods
Yeah,
everywhere. So seriously, we used to
yeah.
play our version of tag. You run with
No, we
cattle
weren't that
prods.
mean. We weren't that mean, but we would do some stupid stuff with those things. So I'll never forget. I had a buddy. We were this kind of an off-topic story, but
Devin
it's
says
funny.
one day he's hopefully gonna call you and your voicemail box won't be full.
Is it full? My work phone? It shouldn't be. I get voicemails all the time. Try it again, dude. Just shoot me a text. Whatever you need, shoot me via text, and that way.
Suzanne says you got to stay calm when you're dealing with people. It's hard at times, but you got to think of you got kids and they got kids at home.
Sure.
She says I got kids at home, but you got to think about that. I think that's a good way to think about it for both parties, though. Think about every time you deal with somebody, you got to stay calm because they could have they could have loved ones at home.
Yeah. I
And
mean,
we
that
all
guy
want
that
to go
shot the
home.
cop, he's obviously got a mother, that had
Yeah,
him, and she may not be around, but he, at one point in time, had people that cared about him, and it's unfortunate it went that way. But he had no regard for his life or anybody
hmm
else's. You don't shoot a cop like that point blank and expect to survive. So unfortunately, people out there, obviously not mentally sound. That's not something a person of sound mind or sound body would make. That's not something of someone of sound mind and sound body would make a decision like that.
yeah,
So unfortunately, the outcome was not what anybody wanted. The officer got hurt. He could be traumatized for life. I know he recovered, but I mean, a chest
no,
wound like that's going to be, he could have
sucks.
complications on the
Yeah,
road. He could have issues with his heart. And so it's just really unfortunate. But yeah. So and then that individual should have been able to go home, but at the end of the day, you have to stop the threat. Yeah. So.
Let's see. Baiting, no, we don't care for. He just says you don't care for shocking experiences.
Not shocking as in
Ha
as
ha
the
ha.
pun intended.
Funny.
No, just my thing. I don't like snakes. I don't like electricity. It's deceptive. It's deceptive.
Well,
Snakes move weird. Electricity. I don't know if that's gonna hurt when it shocks me. If it's gonna vaporize me when it shocks me.
it depends on the voltage.
Majority of it I know is low
and the
level, so
amperage
I'm
is the
not.
main.
Yeah.
The main thing you got to worry about is amperage. Voltage just hurts.
Yeah.
Amperage is what kills.
So I just stay away from
I
it.
saw a comedian.
Do my black and red in there, and that's it.
I don't know why, but this reminds me of a comedian. I saw a comedian joke. He was talking about how to discipline kids in schools, and he said, "This is just a joke. I want to preface it." And he goes, he was doing a bunch of he was doing some research on something, and he saw that there was uh, electricity is lethal from 100 from 50 to 100 milliamps, and he goes, that gives us a little bit of play there.
I think I've heard this one
And
too.
he goes, so the weak start going out at 50, so you got a
Right.
little bit of play there. And I'm like, that's
I think it's Louis C.K.
I
maybe
don't remember, but it was funny
before
about it, and I
he
was like, I don't
is.
know if that would be acceptable
Yeah.
because amperage stinks, but
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, it's either him or it might be Jim Gaffigan. I don't
it
know.
was funny though. I
Yeah.
wish I knew the whole bit for it, but man, I started laughing
Hey,
at it.
it's a good pain. It's a good pain indicator.
I'll tell you what though, as an electrician, if you touch the wrong wire, you're gonna remember not to touch that again.
Exactly.
I tell you what, there's a couple places in a box I don't stick my hand anymore because of some bad
Right.
experiences.
Well, growing up, we used to play football by those big green electrical
Mhm.
boxes, and that was one of the pylons. So in football, pylon is something that indicates the end zone. So a
Right.
lot of times you're diving to touch it. So like you.
Bad idea.
Oh yeah, no, we did it all the time. But other times it'd become a blocker because it was so big.
Oh, that's
And
yeah.
so yeah, we used to jump over that thing on it, bump into it. One time we bumped into it and the lid started coming off. So we just like stuffed it back down, and I never knew. And they actually had a picture of like a guy getting zapped
Oh yeah.
with a little skeleton and
Oh
the
yeah.
yellow
Oh,
electricity.
that's a good way to hurt yourself.
Yeah, but that was like because it was an abandoned, not abandoned, but it was an empty lot that they hadn't built on
Yeah.
at the time. And so me and the neighborhood kids would meet up there certain times. This is before cell phones, so you had to call their house phone or
Yep.
whatever. Or we just had like 4:30 was the normal time on Thursdays or whatever. We'd all go play tackle football with no pads and no helmets. And nowadays, if you do that, I mean, Child Protective Services probably gets the
I
parents.
remember
But
playing on a grass field, and it was asphalt or it
yep,
was gravel.
my mom would be so mad. She's like, "That's the second pair of sweatpants you've ripped the knees out of this week," and it's like, sorry, all right.
Other than that, I don't really have anything. I wanted to wish you guys have a happy
Have a
New
safe.
Year. Uh,
If you don't have to get out, sorry to cut you off. If you don't have to get out
Rude.
New Year's Eve, be smart. It is amateur night or amateur hour, whatever they call it. Do not go out. It's not you that I'm worried about. It's everybody around you that's driving intoxicated.
Yeah.
The last thing I want to hear about is losing a Titan family member because they get hit by a drunk driver. There are going to be plenty of drunk drivers out. Be the smart person and take them out of the equation. You know, unless they drive into your living room, you should not be affected if you stay home. So please, please, please stay home, watch the ball drop an hour early, and do what I do and go to bed at 11:15 because I watched the New York one drop and it's close enough for me. And if the New Year wants
I have
to,
a friend who records it and watches it the next morning.
yeah, I'm not that dedicated. If I fall, I've there's been a couple years I've fallen asleep before. I had my fun and I used to go out. I think the last time was like my first or second year out of college. That's been about 10, 13 years ago. Between there, not quite. It's 9 years, so but it would have been right around 8 or 9 years ago. We went to Power Light, and it was dumb. I spent like $300 or
I
$400.
don't need to
I
anymore.
got maybe a few good drinks out of it. It's just yeah. So,
Yeah, I don't need to
and if
anymore.
you do go, please, please, please get an Uber. Don't be
Be smart about
yeah,
it.
don't hesitate to contact a sober driver. Your DD is not the person that drank the least at the party, so please don't make that mistake that people have made in the past. Just be smart, be safe, guys. We need you guys to stay safe. And my guys are on the road from about 11:30 to 12:30. We play because I used to work every
Yeah.
New Year's. This is the second year in a row I haven't had to go, which is nice, but or I haven't had to go in. But from 12:30 or 11:30 to 12:30, the city likes to play this game is at fireworks or gunshots. So shelter in place, find somewhere safe to be. Be proactive. I know my patrol staff is going to have you guys either. I think they all come back to the
We
office.
wanted to tell you live on the air because we knew you wouldn't react as much. We're actually going to need you to work this
That's too
series.
well. I'll be driving from Omaha. So no, but usually I would always take off Christmas and then work New Year's because I've never been a big New Year's. It's just another day for me. I wake up, it's a new year. Awesome, cool. Never had New Year's resolution. I don't go to the gym for a week and then stop going because I get tired of it.
No.
Those of you that do it, you know, hey, that's for you and that's fine. Some people don't celebrate stuff as much as others, and that's perfectly fine. So just keep in mind that there are going to be a lot of idiots on the road all evening into the early hours of the morning. So please, please, please be careful. Make good decisions. So if that's something I would do, don't do it.
That still leaves a little bit
It
open,
does leave
but
it open. But
just
when
be
it comes
good,
to
be
being
safe,
good on the
guys.
road, no.
So
So
we're going to cut it here. We
yep.
appreciate everybody joining us. Happy New Year. Stay safe.
Yeah, when we see you in 2023. Yeah.
So we will see you guys next time. Until then, have a wonderful night. Have a great weekend. Stay out there. Stay safe out there.
Happy New Year, guys. Be careful.
Bye.